Hi, are you struggling with anxiety? Do you finally want to know what actually works so that you just don't magically feel better one day and then not the next, but you actually get better? Do you want to know exactly what I mean by that? Go ahead and watch till the end because I'm going to go over 3 examples related to an evidence-based or research-backed form of therapy called rational therapy. As I mentioned, this form of therapy is evidence-based. That means there's research to support that it actually helps people get better, not just feel better. You learn practical things like skills and techniques that you can utilize moving forward so that you don't need your therapist forever and ever and ever. In most cases, right? There may be the occasional person, depending on their mental health condition, that they would benefit from it, but most people with mild levels of anxiety don't necessarily need long-term counseling. Now, this style of therapy, especially when utilized by a Christian like myself to create a Christian form of rational therapy, is really powerful because you learn exactly how to take thoughts captive so that you can really walk in perfect peace, because that can be a skill or a fruit or a gift that God is working in you sort of differently to develop. Not everybody has all the gifts right away. Sometimes it takes some time. And as his word says, as iron sharpens iron, so does one person sharpen another. So I truly believe that God can use Christian, biblical, and professional counselors to really help others, really navigate and learn to develop truthful, rational, God-honoring thoughts to help take control of anxiety and live peacefully with the ones you love. Let's dive right into those 3 sort of areas that I wanted to kind of tell you about, like how this style of therapy can help you. Number 1, and I'll use some psychobabble, as my friends like to call it, to explain it, but then, I'll explain it in a little bit more everyday terms too. So the first thing is called cognitive restructuring, and that just means changing the way that you think, right? And the premise to this is that your thoughts really do influence your emotions and your behaviors. So if at the very core of your thinking, if there's any sort of essentially underlying irrational, untruthful lies from the enemy, or just lies that we could possibly be telling ourselves, or both, right? What's the fruit of that? That fruit of that is anxiety and high stress, depression, and all those things. So with this style of counseling, you really learn that process of how to identify and trace back to what are those thoughts that I'm having first, maybe without even recognizing it until I sit with a therapist, that is leading me to feel anxiety, and then maybe avoid certain situations or fill in the blank, right? The second part would be emotion regulation, and that just means being able to take control of your emotions, right? Take control of your anger before it takes control of you. We learned there's so many lessons like that in the Bible. We see it with Cain and Abel from the very beginning, with Joseph and his brothers, right, who sold them into slavery. So the goal of rational therapy is to help you, instead of run away from the feelings of anxiety, is to learn to confront it, to actually face it instead of avoiding it. And we call that the ability to get to that point distress tolerance, being able to tolerate that distressing emotion instead of running away from it. Because what a lot of people notice is anxiety specifically kind of comes like a wave. You know what I mean? You might have noticed that. It might come on pretty strong at first, that peak of the wave, but then whether it's within a few minutes to 20 to 30 minutes, it kind of washes away. And so being able to face it and stand it, and learn that you can stand it, learn that you can use different techniques to sort of ride that wave, will truly help you conquer anxiety long terms, again, so that you don't need to be in therapy for years and years and years. The last sort of aspect, there's a lot more, but the last one I'll talk about today that Christian rational therapy can help you with is learning to kind of shift your mindset to be a problem solver and kind of pairing that with the coping skills that you learn. You kind of learn, instead of to find a problem for every solution, you'll start to shift your mindset to start naturally, habitually, it becomes like your new personality trait where you can come up and be solution focused whenever trials, tribulations, troubles come your way in any future season of life. Ultimately, the goal, at least for me and many other rational therapists, is to equip our clients so that they can practice what we call rational self-counseling. You learn how to utilize God's word, right? The truth, to test your thoughts and focus on solutions. Learn to tolerate those seasons of distress, to surrender and trust Him, but then also attain or develop achievable and realistic goals that you can actually reach. And all of that, all those three things together will help you just live a more vibrant, more peaceful, and more God-honoring life. So again, it's just a great way to truly feel better and know why. Because there's a lot of times, so what doesn't work is, from what I've seen, right? People will go to counseling, feel better for a short amount of time, and sometimes it could just be, well, I just had someone to talk to. I had someone that I can open up with and not get judgment from. And so I felt better momentarily, but I couldn't really tell you why I felt better, because you wouldn't be able to actually teach or share or encourage anyone else with anything that you've learned. So, and that can happen with other forms of counseling. So I think of the Bible verse in Corinthians. I'll put it up on the screen if I can, or in the notes in the description. It's the one that says, "Praise be to God, the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our affliction, so that we can in turn comfort others with the comfort that we have received from God." And so when I read that, I was in a season of trying to understand and discern if God wanted me to continue counseling and helping people. And that verse was the first one that I opened to in my Bible. And it was just such a confirmation of, yes, you know, you've been equipped with all this information and all this study, 15 years of helping, and I want you to give that comfort that you've received, both personally, because I used to be a very anxious person, and by the grace of God, I've overcome a lot of that. He wants me to sort of share that with you as well. And I also encourage my clients too. I mean, not that they can call themselves therapists or anything like that, but anything that they learn that truly helps, that they know God has allowed that to work and has called them to, like it talks about in Titus, pour into the younger ones who might come to them when they're dealing with seasons of anxiety and stress. Now you actually have something that you can teach, something that you can use to encourage, because you've learned like these little practical skills and techniques and steps for identifying irrational thoughts, testing them against God's word, learning to take control of those emotions, and just becoming a problem solver instead of a problem maker. So I hope that you found that helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and make sure you subscribe for future videos.